What's up, War Report family? I'm your host, C Dub. Auburn football conducted the second scrimmage to conclude fall camp. How are we feeling about this team as we're a few weeks away from the start of the season? All the fellas are here to weigh in on Hugh Freeze's thoughts, as well as some opinions of our own, and we'd love to hear from you in the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate. Let's get it.
This is the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub, Ike Joe, Be Will, Mike G. You are now listening to
Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to the latest Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by show sponsor Golden's Cast Iron. We want to send a special thanks to them for agreeing to partner with the War Report, as well as helping us to bring you some amazing content, fireside style. We appreciate them for believing in us and partnering with us, and special thanks to them as they're sponsoring today's show. Special thanks to you guys also for watching with us. Guys, listen, share this content, share this information with your group chat, social media, whoever you know enjoys great Auburn content. Share this with them. We greatly appreciate it. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, consider becoming a member of the War Report and get yourself a green name. Become a new member of the gang. I can tell you exactly how you do that and what you can expect as a member.
It's really simple. How you do is click the join button. The join button gives you some options, and you see what those options are. You can go $5.99 or $3.99. The $5.99 level gets you all of the goodies, though. That lets you rewatch all the watch the films. We have some exclusive content drops that we'll be doing, and giving away tickets. Gotta be a patron to get in on the giveaways this year. Patron members, we're doing giveaway of the first game against UMass. That drawing will be conducted this week. Somebody is going to get 2 free tickets to that game that is part of the patron family. So you guys make sure that you get your signups on that. If you're a supporter and you want to get in on that, you got to upgrade. If you're already a patron, you are good to go. If you're not a member and you want tickets, got to go to patron level. So you guys make that happen. If you are a member and you'd like to gift memberships like Brian Hancher has done already in this show, you can go ahead and do that right now from the live chat. Somebody will get a free month's membership on you. Make sure that you lock in with our guys over at goldenscastiron.com using code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off of the weights. They've got the free weights and the kettlebells, and you can use code TWR for 65% off of Fire Pits and Kamado Grills. I'm trying to put them two things together. Fire Pills. But yeah, man, make sure that you get in there and lock in with Goldens for that discount. The summer is here. Football season is upon us. That means we're going to be doing a lot of hanging out, a lot of tailgating. Make sure you get yourself ready for that.
Gentlemen, happy Sunday to y'all. Welcome. Hope y'all are doing well. Seems like it's been a while since the announcement has been made about QB1. Ike and B. Will did a special live last week to cover that. Mike G, who was celebrating his birthday, was out. I still work at 8 to 5, so I wasn't around to give my thoughts. But this is a great opportunity and time for us, for me and Mike, before we get into yesterday's scrimmage and Hugh Freeze's comments about that. Let's talk real briefly to kind of recap the decision to name Peyton Thorne QB1, the starter for UMass. I'll give my thoughts here. I want to say congratulations to Peyton Thorne. Special congratulations to him for betting on himself. And this is a guy who was an incumbent at Michigan State, who it was believed coming out of Michigan State reporters in their camp is that there was going to be a QB competition this fall. And Peyton Thorne, I guess, figured that, hey, if I'm going to have to compete for the job, let me compete somewhere in the SEC. Let me compete somewhere new. Let me get a fresh start and actually get out here and compete. And not only did he do that, he actually was able to land the QB1 position, because we've seen where guys who've been incumbent starters elsewhere has come to Auburn, and it didn't work out for him as recently as last year. So that's a risk. So for him to be able to do that, congratulations to him. Also want to address Robbie Ashford, Holden Gerner. When Hugh Freeze showed up, he wasn't quite sure of what he had in the QB room. He was asked about what type of QB is he looking for, and he stressed things like leadership. He stressed things like body language, demeanor, and he was expecting a lot from these guys. Over the course of spring, summer, winter workout, spring, summer, fall camp, Hugh Freeze is now saying that he has 3 QBs that he feels he can win games with. To me, I think that's a testament to the hard work that Holden Gerner, Robbie Ashford has put in to compete for this job. And I think that that's something that I don't know about you guys. I haven't heard a coach say here at Auburn that I have 3 QBs in my room that I can win with. I think it's a testament to how hard those kids have worked. Those kids have a lot to be proud of. I know it's disappointing to not get the starting job, given the work that you put in. You want to be able to have your name called as QB1, but I think it's awesome to see that a guy who has a coach who has a lot of experience coaching at this level, who has put QBs in the league, who has had great QB play through his time as a head coach at this level, says he can win with you. And I think that's something that you shouldn't hang your head about if you're Holden Gerner or Robbie Ashford. So to those guys, I say keep working. To Thorne, I say keep working, because as we'll talk later today, there's an expectation that the competition will continue. It's not done. You still got games to play, and you got to look good in those games. So I'm excited about this QB room. Again, congrats to Peyton Thorne. And I'm expected to see an improvement in that room moving forward in this upcoming season. Mike G, what are your thoughts?
Good point, Caesar, on Thorne winning the job. Leaving where you're at to go someplace else to compete with no guarantee that you're going to get the job can be scary. I mean, it can be scary, right? I mean, it was an ultimate bet on himself. He went, he competed, and he got named the starter. That can't be understated. So, and he was up against some things. Number one, a truncated kind of offseason where you didn't get to spend a spring with your team. And he had to catch up. He had to catch up on system. He had to catch up on getting chemistry with his teammates. There was ground to close, and the coaches felt like he closed it. So that is, I think, something should be said of that, because to do that, you have to come in with a workman's type approach, right? You've got to get to work. You've got to do the things that are required of you. And you had, and what we know about this coach is that he not only had to show the ability to throw the football, but he had to show the intangibles as well, too, to be named game 1 starter. Here's what I like about Hugh Freeze. He was very clear on what those things were. He has been all offseason. Right. So, credit to Peyton Thorne for coming in and showing those things. I can't wait to see him go out there and execute, because he does raise the floor to a level that we don't see at Auburn very often. I think, what is it like? Who was I talking to? I think it was Dustin over at the Up Tempo. We were talking about this, and Auburn, I think they only had like a 3,000 per yard passer like twice in the history of the program. Wow. So if he can come in and he can raise that floor, over 3,000, that might make for a pretty good season here. And, we'll get to it later, but with things that we're hearing coming out of the scrimmage, I think the receivers are probably really excited about this as well, too. So now for the other two that did not win the job, my only message to them is just stay ready. You never know when you're going to be called on. Yeah, we've seen it. We keep saying it over and over again about how many backup quarterbacks had to go start a whole game. Things happen. Crap happens. And you have to stay ready. You cannot afford to check out. TJ Finley was our most recent case study of this. He admittedly said, after Bo won the job, I checked out. And then when Bo got hurt, I wasn't ready. Mentally, I wasn't there. So he went out there and he couldn't beat South Carolina. And now you're playing catch up. You're losing 4 overtimes in the Iron Bowl. And I think he sealed his fate when he lost to Houston and the Birmingham Bowl. Now, Caesar and I, you and I, well, maybe it was me and Ike. We were talking, we were like, if he had beat South Carolina and Houston and still lost a close Iron Bowl, the outlook on him would have been much different. But look what not being ready cost him.
Yeah.
Now, buddy's at what, Texas State?
Yep.
I wish him well, but boy, I mean, that was a case study in what not to do.
I don't even think he won the job there at Texas State.
No, he didn't.
So, I mean, very few QBs get that many chances to be a starting quarterback at the Power 5 level. So if you're Robbie or Holden, you have to stay ready. And, hopefully Hugh Freeze has a plan for those guys to help them stay ready. That's my hope. Can he find a way to motivate and keep these guys engaged? That's part of being a QB whisperer too, I would think. So the guy who finished in third, the sad part about this is, and now I'll pass it back to you, Caesar. When you're building a program with talent, especially a quarterback, somebody talented is not going to play. And fans need to just get used to that. There's going to be somebody super talented that either going to transfer out or is going to ride the pine. I think that is a problem, a good problem that fans need to get used to if Hugh Freeze does what he's hoping to accomplish at Auburn. So, if you were a Holden fan, you're disappointed that maybe it seems like he didn't get the shot for real, because by all reports, he had a great camp and lost out primarily to the experience of the other two. There's tape on the other two. If you're Robbie, your outlook is a little different because the coach is saying, hey, man, if he continues to do the things he's doing, he's going to be really hard to keep off the field. You have more motivation to stay ready, but this team, Hugh Freeze is creating a situation where we just need to get used to the fact that there can be more than one guy that can do the job. I get why Auburn fans are so all or nothing with the quarterback, why they choose sides, because normally the backup spells disaster. That's what history has taught us.
Right.
Is that when the backup comes in, shut the season down, it's over.
Or it's just a zero-sum game. Either we made the wrong choice, that kid transfers out, and we're stuck with the guy who wasn't good enough,
right?
Or the other way. I think what's happening with this coach is what you're saying, Mike, is if a talented QB leaves, it's not because we picked the wrong guy.
Right.
It's because we picked the right guy or a good guy, and there's just only one position for that QB room. And so he's transferring out to play elsewhere, but Auburn is still thriving. It's not like we're struggling, wondering what if. So,
right.
And I think this is something that even like Georgia has had to deal with. They had a QB that transferred out, went to Ohio State. They were okay as a result of that. So I anticipate if the QB room in its progression continues at the rate that we think that it is currently, I anticipate some of that happening in the future. And to your point, we do need to be prepared and ready for that. Dustin says, appreciate you, man, watching with us. He says, yeah, Mike, Damian Craig in 97 and Stidham.
Wow.
Yeah, those are the two that are happening. Trash Panda.
That happen very often.
Appreciate you being with us. He says, regardless of not winning, Holden and Robbie improving is a sign of this coaching staff knowing how to get the best of their QBs, and has me excited for this season as well as the future. I agree with this statement. Good statement there. AD says, gotta love hearing Robbie had his best practices since Peyton getting named number 1. Stay on him, Robbie, and great things will come. War Eagle to you, AD. It's glad to have you with us. John Brandon says, for the idiots predicting us to have under 6 wins this season, pucker up.
Yeah.
Good to have you here with us, John. Also, JB saying Coach Hugh Freeze is the most non-coach speak coach we've had for football in a long, long time.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who think that the talk about Robbie is coach speak. I don't think that it is. I think he's being very, very candid and clear. I'm not writing it off as coach speak because I thought he sent some very direct messages recently.
Yeah.
About what he wants, and what people need to do. I don't think he could be any clearer.
It's very refreshing. Speaking of which, Hugh Freeze actually met with media yesterday to kind of recap and discuss, take questions from the Saturday scrimmage, the second scrimmage to conclude fall camp, and a few comments we've clipped to kind of discuss. But all in all, speaking of QB room, he's been pretty complimentary of scrimmage and the QB room. One of the things that I do want to talk to you guys about, we did not clip this, but I want to ask you guys thoughts on this. He talked about practice being well, but when they get into Jordan Hare, that they've appeared to be flat for these two scrimmages. And he wasn't quite sure if it's just his expectation. It's been a long time he's been in a stadium of this magnitude, this size, which, of course, he was on the road against Arkansas, but his team won that game last year at Liberty. But he expected his team to have, I think the way he called it, more juice. What do you make of his comments? Again, this is an example of him being very candid and non-coach speak. What do you make of his thoughts about where his team was going into the scrimmage and how they looked overall?
I think it is indicative of everybody just needing to raise their effort up to another level. Now, he said it might be, the headphones that he's wearing or something. Like he said, I don't know what, but it just didn't feel like he's like, are we even coming off the ball? Right. Like he's not hearing pads popping. Right. And so there are guys on this team who have been cemented starters that nobody's really pushing. Maybe they weren't given max effort. Right. They know, okay, I can just go out here and kind of go through the motions in practice. I don't want to hurt myself, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, man, I think that's the major reason why when he came out of spring, he was saying to himself, I got to go get some more guys. I got to get the competition level behind these guys to a higher level so they stop feeling as if they've got it made. I'm going to bring another guy in and let's see if you still feel like you're solidified as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what you got when somebody's breathing down your neck for reps a little bit. If you're not going to go out there and give me maximum effort, I will find somebody who does it. Even if they're not as good as you, you can be super talented. That's fine. This dude's playing harder. Let's see what you do now. I think, a little bit of it is just people trying to take it easy at practice. But, he said himself, like, somebody's got to be a jerk out here and say that your good isn't what I'm requiring of you. I want the best. I want your best effort in practice. I want it in the film room. I want it everywhere. And if I got to call you out and say, I feel like you were going 80% right there when you could have given me 90 or 100, I'm going to say it. I like it. Raising the standard of what we're doing, executing at every level.
I think the term he said is I'll call you up was like, I see why this guy's a good recruiter. Like he knows how to put a spin on that one. But again, he mentions that every DNA of each team is different.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times where he hasn't had to be that guy that as you referenced, Ike, the practice jerk, the guy who's holding people's feet to the fire and holding them accountable to the standard that he has set for the team.
Right.
B. Will, what do you make of him even saying that? Because again, that's not coach speak either. But he's alluded to the fact that as a result of him being that, practice has gone very well as a result. What does that say for Hugh Freeze as a coach? And again, just being aware of what's happening with his team.
Hugh Freeze seems to be we can only have to say that at this point. He was very clear about what was most important to him when he got on campus: the locker room, the culture, and recruiting. This is what he specializes in. If you get a company running and a CEO, well, we're going to go with telecom stuff. All right, he's a telecom guy. Well, we're going to go with TV content stuff. And they come in and whatever that person running the company wants to do, the company's going to lean into that special thing. You're still going to do the other stuff you did, but we're going to lean into this because that person has a focus in that. They came from a company where they had a lot of success and they did that. Hugh Freeze is about the person, driving the person, getting them motivated, and having the entire locker room bought into what is going on. I don't know if I heard Gus Malzahn or Brian Harsin emphasize team culture and effort and the locker room this much. I mean, Gus was here for 8 years. I mean, he didn't say much of anything really. So, I mean, that's kind of tough on Gus. I'm sorry. Brian Harsin, it was just about the work, right? You hear what it's about. You hear what they emphasize. And so we know who they are, which is why Hugh Freeze has been so consistent emphasizing culture and locker room. I don't know how you think anything he's saying is coach speak. He's being very direct. He wants the effort to be there. He's talked about competition when he got here. He talked about competition before and after the spring. And he's still talking about competition after naming a starting quarterback. It's important to him. It's incredibly important to him. And we see that in how he recruits and how he pulled out the portal. And we see it now with talking about what he demands and what he expects to see from practice. He doesn't want you getting comfortable. I guess unless maybe you out there looking like Jerry Rice and Barry Sanders. Okay, y'all can chill out a little bit. Okay, y'all can put it on 50%. We know what you're going to do. But nobody on this team has that type of cachet yet. Not with Hugh Freeze. Maybe Jarquez Hunter a little bit. If anybody, but other than that, no, everybody's got something to prove. And I like that he's holding them accountable for that. The most experienced players we have, the best players we have. He talked about the secondary players, getting that message too. DJ James. By all accounts, he's probably the best player we have on this team right now, as far as NFL draftability, pro prospects, and Jarquez too. Why? The message was you've got to tackle better. Jarquez didn't get the chastising that the secondary gets. Why I said DJ James. He told the secondary didn't tackle good. You didn't. You gonna play as the notes were. Are you gonna tackle? Y'all gonna tackle today? NFL first round hopeful. That's important. I can't say I can. I don't think that ever happened under Gus Malzahn. That were players challenged by the head coach directly. The person who's running the show, who's going to determine whether or not you see the field, you get these snaps. He's going to poke you in your chest, metaphorically, and say, what's up? Are you going to step to the plate today? This is great culture. This is phenomenal culture. I'm glad he's doing it. I'm glad he can call them out because it works so much better when the person at the top can hold everybody accountable, not just the people who are slacking, not just the people who are new, everybody accountable. This locker room is going to be strong and the culture is going to be good. What that amounts to as far as wins and losses, the football still has to happen. But as far as what he's doing with the culture, this is exactly how you do
it. Mike, just closing thoughts on just Hugh Freeze's approach to this team and him being a guy who's making sure that he's holding people accountable.
No, I mean, like I said, I think he's been pretty clear. Yeah, I appreciate the candidness and the straightforward nature of his messaging at times. I still believe that there are some things that could maybe be crafted a little better, but yeah, at the end of the day, it just is what it is, right? Like, he's got to coach football. We're at that point where it's time to stop talking and it's time to start coaching football. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like the fact that he named a starter early and did not let this drama drag into the first week of prep. There were some people that were like, why now? And I'm sure he's got his reasons, and I'm sure we'll never hear all the reasons, but I kind of like
but
that
he clearly explained one of the reasons why was because Peyton Thorne was pressing, and he thought, if I'll go ahead and say, hey, you're going to be the starter for game one, I'm going to see what he does when he's not pressing so much. And will that take
I missed that. I actually missed that.
He did say that. He did say that.
That was in the presser when he announced Peyton Thorne as the starter. As part of the reason was he's pressing a lot. So let me see if I take some of that pressure off of him. How does he perform in practice going forward? Is he going to stop pressing? Which we'll address in his comments.
Which we were told as well too. Like he was pressing really hard.
And you can understand that. You can
yeah.
actually understand that. I mean, these coaches don't know me. So if I'm the guy who normally checks down and I'm making a safe play, but I may not be making explosive play, like I need to show that, hey, I need to make something happen. Like these coaches don't know me. Like, yeah, I was a starter at Michigan State, but that's Michigan State. So I can understand him having to prove himself in this regard, being in unfamiliar territory where he's competing for a starting job. I can understand that.
Right. Yeah. No, I missed that. Thank you. Like, so again, well, it kind of goes back to my point about him just like being clear about, what he's doing or what his reasoning is. I like that. So yeah, I like that he got all the pretend drama out of the way now. Name this dude the starter, and and then he's still got to go out there and perform. It doesn't matter who's named starter if they can't go out there and perform.
Right.
And I think he's been pretty clear there too about guys still need to go out. Like being named starter at any position is not the end of the story. You still got to go and perform. That's not just QB, right? Like Jarquez Hunter had a lot of hype coming in with him, but I bet you if he's not effective toting the rock, his ass will be on the bench. Right? Yeah, I'm a Jarquez
because
Hunter
there's plenty of other people who will come in and take those snaps. They are not lacking at running back. So Quez knows, hey man, I gotta go out there and I got a ball.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you got to play well, and I think this is the message here. You need to play well. You need to do the little things consistently. At quarterback, there are other intangibles though. Because being a leader is not optional at quarterback. You have to be a leader. You have to keep your cool. Because guys are going to look to you. And Hugh Freeze has been, from day one, he's been clear that that's what he's looking for in an SEC. That's his version of an SEC quarterback. So yeah, the culture, man, the stuff he's doing, the messaging. Nothing's going to be perfect. But I think that it's clear it's headed the right direction. And complete 180 from what we experienced the last 2 years. So Hugh Freeze, man, we've said this. We've said this on social media. I think we said a couple times on the show. He has shown an incredible ability to be able to check his own biases and reassess when necessary. So I think it's super important in a coach. That he will not just keep going down the wrong path because that was the first path he chose. I don't think there's any hill he's willing to die on, without reassessing.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see, man. This is a pretty good situation, I think, headed into week one. And I think we'll learn a lot, even though it's only UMass, about how they execute against a team that they should dominate. Yeah, I think we'll, we kind of said it, like if they play bad, you learn a ton, right? If they play good, you don't learn as much, but you at least get a chance to see, how guys handle things when the lights are on, because it's a different kind of pressure when the lights are on.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited about what they're going to put on the field.
Same here. I'm gonna grab some comments and we'll get to the break. Steve Bradley, appreciate you being with us. He says, I saw where UMass versus New Mexico State Saturday night 6 on ESPN. Okay,
this coming Saturday?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a week 0 game. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be watching.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure we'll get a film review out of that.
Grab that film for you.
I love Mike.
I'm pretty sure Ike's gonna do some extra work if you guys tune in for it.
Sign up for the Patreon membership, baby.
Right, Ike? Oh man,
we will deliver. If I deliver, I mean Ike. He will do all the work.
Oh man, Trash Panda, thank you for becoming a member, good sir. Kenneth says, I like how Freeze pointed out that his recent pass receivers are ripping it up in the NFL. That he said, I hope all my receiver recruits are listening. Always had a 1,000-yard guy or close to it. He said he mentioned this on last week. I think the same
horn, coach. I like this. Toot your horn.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else would do it. There's no coach who would do it. Say, hey, I got all these guys in the NFL, till ripping it up. I like this.
It's
I
one
like
guy
this.
on the Pats, apparently, the wide receiver. They were like, he is killing he's starting. He is going to start. He's killing in preseason. I
That's
forgot
the
his
dude who
name.
was at Liberty. That's
He was at Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the 1,400-yard guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna find his name. I'm gonna find this dude.
Claim to fame. I'm here for it. I think he should. I mean, he's doing it with recruits. Trust and believe. The recruits know who he is. So I'm all here for it. Guys, good conversation so far. If you've been enjoying this, y'all, make sure your Auburn friends, family, buddies are aware of this. Share this content, guys. Drop it in your group chats. Drop it on social media, wherever you can find people who will be interested. Share this with them, and it helps us out a ton. It will also help us out if you was to smash that like button, and if you were to subscribe if you just found our channel. Take a break, pay some bills, and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. When you work out, grill out, and chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to auburnsports.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, head over to gwt2energy.com. As always, thank you to the sponsors of the War Report, and thank you to those of you who have chosen to become members of the War Report. If you are a patron, you are automatically entered to win free tickets to see UMass come and get a beat down in Jordan-Hare in a couple Saturdays. So if you want to go witness the U Massacre, as some in the War Report community have dubbed it, then make sure that you are a patron by the end of the day today, because we will close off memberships for anybody who joins after today. So if you're rewatching this and it's Monday or Tuesday, we're going to go ahead and pull all of the lists of people who are patron members at the end of the day today to do the drawing, and we'll try to announce that winner on Wednesday's show. Make sure you're signed up for our email address, for our email list. It's in the live chat and in the description of the video. Not the live chat, excuse me. It's in the description of the video, and on the channel description, you should have a link where you can sign up to be on our email list so we can get in touch with you if you actually win. So if you're a patron and you're not on that email list, go ahead and sign up so we can make sure that we have you a contact for you there. If you want to gift a membership to somebody, you can do that same way that now Chris Jones has done here in the live chat. So shout out to Brian Hancher and Chris Jones for gifting memberships to people. You get a free month of membership on you, or someone will get a free month of membership on you. So you can go ahead and do that right now from the live chat. Make sure that you guys stay locked in with us on the pod spaces. We are the Auburn Express on the pod networks. The College Loop and the Uptempo podcast are also a part of the War Report pod network. You can tune into those guys anytime. We got content dropping all throughout the week. And we hadn't announced this officially yet, but we are launching a new, I don't have a graphic for this right now, but we are launching a new podcast division, quote unquote, called Just a Sec Podcast. It's going to be more about all SEC stuff, not just Auburn. So that is actually coming.
I see what you did there. I like that.
Yeah. It's going to be coming to you guys very soon. So the Amen Corner is actually moved. That's what we've been working on with the Amen Corner rebranding. We're moving that over to the Just a Sec podcast. We've got some other all SEC content that will be dropping on podcasts for you guys coming up very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Also, we've been talking about guys balling out. And since we're doing that, Manscaped is a sponsor of today's show on the War Report. Make sure that you guys sign up. Make sure that you guys hit them up, man. The support for the War Report is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered for the tools, precision engineered tools for your family jewels. The Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Over 8 million men worldwide trust Manscaped. Get this exclusive offer with 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code REPORT at manscaped.com. So make sure that you guys hit them up over there. Again, that's manscaped.com using code REPORT, 20% off and free shipping worldwide using code REPORT. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Manscaped. I didn't announce it earlier. I don't know why I'm tripping, but we do have a giveaway going today. Hashtag get your weight up now in the live chat if you want to be able to get one of these War Report t-shirts sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. We'll be doing that drawing right around the 1 hour mark of the show. So make sure you get your hashtag in for that.
I have one request, Ike.
Yes, sir.
You have to work in a touch on balls reference to lead into Manscaped. All right.
Touch on balls. All right. Full pause, but go ahead.
I'm just saying. Hey, that's if we're gonna go there, we gotta reference that. Anyway. Grabbing some comments here. Oda Smith says, I mean, as bad as last year was, we were a botched fumble and overtime play away from 7-5 with Coach Hugh Freeze and company. This team can most definitely get 8 to 9 wins. We shall see.
I think 8 is achievable.
I think 8 is achievable too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel like that's where our ceiling is. Did y'all see the Big Game Boomer Girl where he's like best case and worst case scenario graphic for every school? And the worst case was like 3 and 9
for Auburn.
It's the worst case was 3 and 9.
So he thinks that we win absolutely no P5 games this season. We're only going to beat the Cupcakes.
That would be the worst case scenario for Auburn. I was like, yeah, I don't see it, but okay.
I mean, that's why I don't pay attention to his stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't see that, but it was. I thought it was hilarious.
He does know we have a new coach, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they could win 5 last year, I don't know why.
What did he have for Oklahoma?
I think it was 7-5 for them too. It's like 7-5 best. Like, I don't know. I got to go back and look. Now, see, I got to go back and look. But it was definitely a funny list. I was like, boy, he's got everybody mad with this one.
He's doing his job.
8 wins is achievable. 8 wins is achievable. 8 wins. 9, man, a lot of things got to go right. So we'll see. And I think that some people are definitely going to have to be not as good as we think they are for 9 wins. But I think he would be happy with 8 in year 1, certainly.
9 wins would be amazing. And just like KP says, DeMario Douglas was the Liberty wide receiver that we were referencing there.
DeMario Douglas, okay.
Lisa Wise says, I'm a patron and have season tickets. Is there a way to exclude me from ticket drawings?
Yes, there is. Absolutely, Lisa. Thank you for telling us that. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
If there's anybody else who would like to raise their hand as a patron and say, hey, don't put me in the drawing, we can 100% do that for you.
Yeah. You also have the ability to give the tickets to whoever you want. So if there's somebody.
If you win and you're like, hey, I already have tickets, I'm just going to give them away. Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah. That's up to you.
Jonathan Boyson says, what do you guys think about the comment on stopping the run? Is it that our O-line is that much better, or is our D-line got some work to do? We've talked about this in previous lives, but what say you, gentlemen?
We don't know, right? And this is what Hugh Freeze is saying. When something goes really well in a scrimmage, it means something went really wrong on the other end because you're scrimmaging against yourself. So it's hard to know. I think they'll find out game 1.
Yeah, I'd prefer for everything in a scrimmage to be a Shane Hooks highlight where it's like, oh, that was an amazing play.
Right.
Because that means good coverage, good throw, good catch, all of that stuff. Like, I prefer all of the highlights to be, you couldn't have done it any better on either side. That's just a heck of a play by the other guy.
Right.
If it's an interception, contested catches, that's what I want to see, because that means that we were where we were supposed to be. But like, where you just running wild on the other team, or you're not able to get protection on the quarterback, that's when you start being like, okay, wait a minute. Too much dominance on either side is scary. Which one of you guys is not doing your job?
Yeah.
Right.
Picking back up with the scrimmage talk, QB play was something that was discussed. Hugh Freeze talked about it, and Thorne actually completed 12 of 17 of his pass attempts, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Robbie Ashford threw 18 of 15 passing, 2 scores. Gerner was 7 of 11. He was actually pretty pleased overall with QB play there. That he wasn't really too critical of them. He did mention that the pass sailed on Peyton, and he talked about him. As a matter of fact, we got the clip right here. We'll discuss his thoughts about Peyton. We'll come back with you guys' thoughts about that.
Yeah, he had two really bad decisions, I thought, but then settled in and I thought played really solid, and thought he pulled a couple good quarterback runs, and obviously we're blowing it pretty quick. I don't know, be anxious, when it gets real to see what he does, but I thought he played, solid after. I think it was the first two possessions. I thought he made two poor choices, and then he settled in and played really well.
Those are his thoughts. First scrimmage after being named the starter. I'll start with you, B. Will. What do you make of Hugh Freeze's assessment in terms of how Thorne is doing as QB1, highlighted by this scrimmage?
He said he named Peyton the starter in part to settle him down so he didn't have to look over his shoulder so much and worry about
and
whether
that was the question that was asked too for clarity. The question was about, has he settled down since you've made that decision, since you said that was part of it?
right.
Right.
And it seems that it worked. So if you don't know your personnel incredibly well, these aren't kids that you recruited out of high school directly, that you haven't recruited him for 18 months to 24 months coming into college, and you didn't really have that long of a recruitment cycle once he got into the transfer portal, because that's what, like a week, maybe two. But he knew enough about him to say that I wanted this guy here, and he also knew that you're pressing. I think I know what will help settle you down. Hugh Freeze may, again, I'm going by the last two coaches we've had. Maybe you can go. I don't know if Gene Chizik would be applicable. I wasn't paying that close attention at the time. He seems to be a much better people person, period. Just like an overall better people person, to where if I'm going to get the best out of you, how do I do that? I know
Gus's players liked him a lot. I think he was a good people person.
He did. I still question whether or not Gus was willing to put the best people on the field all the time. And that's
fair.
Hugh doesn't seem to be too tired. Like he gave Peyton Thorne, he said, hey, I'm going to give you this vote of confidence. You got the job. Calm down. And then the same press conference went, all right, but I got this other dude and he's playing really good. So Peyton's going to have to play really well if he wants to keep this job.
You can see the method to Hugh Freeze's madness in full display here, where you probably didn't exactly see it with previous coaches, is what I'm hearing you say, B.
Right. And that is where we have a good amount of value in him as a head coach, like just as a head coach, don't think about recruiting. Don't think about the X's and O's. Just as a guy, you're over all of these people and your assistant coaches, which he actually mentioned when he said he was disappointed with the energy. He's mentioned he was like assistant coaches too. This is important. Like, this is intangible leadership, but it's so valuable. So he read Peyton Thorne. He knew what he needed to play better. He made that decision to name him the starter, and Peyton Thorne played better. Like, just in a vacuum, I brought you here. You're doing all right. What can I do to make you better? I'm going to name you the starter. You're the starter? Look at that. Now you're playing like the guy I thought you were going to be. Great. That's exactly what I needed you to be. This is head coaching. This is leadership, really. This is leadership. This is top down. This is valuable leadership. Now, I don't know if him overthrowing and one sailed on him in INT, that's going to happen. All right. We didn't think we had Joe Burrow 19 coming in here and Peyton Thorne. If he was that great, then he wouldn't have left Michigan State, or he wouldn't have left for the same reason. So what we have is a guy who can be very good. And honestly, that is what we want. That's what Hugh Freeze wanted here. Very good. A mistake or two is okay. If the coach is okay with it, then yeah, we should all be okay with it, because he knows what his limits are. I think he's making a good reading on who he is as a professional and as a worker and as a player. But I am trusting more and more Hugh Freeze's evaluation of these guys' performance, putting it in the big picture of, okay, well, how is that going to extrapolate to the season and these games and this game plan? Give him time. These are his decisions. Put all your trust in him. Let him work. So far, Hugh Freeze is knocking out the park.
Yeah, I think that, the question is more so about Peyton Thorne's response to the changes. I mean, I think Peyton Thorne is a guy, and I've talked about this before, who has really all the pressure in the world on him as far as this QB room is concerned. He has the least amount of eligibility left. He's already used his transfer to come here. So it's got to work for him if he plans to play beyond college or even start in college. Because if he loses the QB job this year, I don't know of a world where he can make it up and win it next year, because whoever he's losing to is coming back next year as well. So he's got to make it work. He absolutely needs to make it work this season if it's going to work for him. So I think part of this is Coach Freeze trying to give him, hey, man, settle down. You're good. Just go out there and play. Stop worrying about whether or not. That to me is more indicative of the fact that he was made no promises than anything else. When people are like, oh, he was promised the job on the way in the door. Why is he worried then? If he's pressing, then what is he worried about? If he thinks the job is his, he just go out there and play carefree. It's like, man, I won the job already. It means something to Peyton Thorne. And so he's pressing, and Coach Freeze just wanted to be able to alleviate that pressure and say, hey, okay, I know I put a lot of pressure on you when you came in the door, told you we were going to have this. Let's take that competition portion off of there and say, all right, the job is yours. Now let's see what happens. If Peyton Thorne had still been going out there messing up, though,
Right.
I don't think Coach Freeze sticks with that decision and says, okay, I don't know what other knob to twist here. I've taken this out of contention. I've given you this. I've put you out here with the ones, right? Like, you have no excuses now other than to perform. If you can't perform under these circumstances, I don't know what else to do. And that to me shows that he has been, I don't want to use the word manipulator, but he's been masterful in the way that he's been able to communicate in different ways to people. How can I get more out of you? How can I push you to another level? Which things do I need to say to push the button that says, okay, this is going to activate the guy that I know you can be? And he's just going to keep trying to figure out what that is until he gets there. Right. So, kudos to him for that.
I think also, too, for me, before we get to you, Mike, is I think it's very telling about seeing Peyton Thorne kind of struggle with his first two series, but then get right back out there and run the offense. And I think that is also something that Hugh Freeze is looking for in a QB as well, because mistakes happen. You will throw a pick. You may overthrow a guy. You may make a bad decision. Are you willing to get back out there next series and run the offense, make the proper reads? And I think that's something that he wants all three of those guys, even Hank Brown. He wants all of his QBs to be able to do. And I think this scrimmage was a demonstration of what Hugh Freeze is expecting from the starting QB. And I think Peyton Thorne did answer the call or answer the bell there with that. And so that was very telling to me, something that stood out. Mike, what were your thoughts in terms of how Peyton Thorne responded in this scrimmage as a result of being named the starter, and just Hugh Freeze's overall approach?
I think he responded the way you would expect your game one starter to respond. He went out there and he did some good things. If you're Peyton Thorne, man, you've been playing quarterback all your life. The pressing comments to me, I'm like, dude, just do what you do, man. Get out of your head and just go out there and play football. You know how to play football. It's a different beast in the SEC, but I just think in a good system, I think Auburn's system has been making players look worse than their actual ability for a while. Like, some guys come in and we know they can play, but suddenly they get here and then it looks like they never touched the football. So, 2,800 yards, man, if he could go out and do that this season, I just feel like Auburn's going to be in pretty good shape. You could do that. This is a manageable schedule. He's got a few games to get into the groove of doing it. I think he responded the way. Like, ultimately, it's got to translate to game day.
Sure.
Right. And I think that's why I'm like, you've already kind of said that he's got all the other intangibles, but I wondered a little bit if this is maybe one of those intangibles that he might be struggling with, right? Is pressing, like the ability to not press, because that's mental. That's not about ability. That's mental. So he shows good leadership and he shows things. But, again, what happens when the game is on the line? Right? Or it's on you're down 10 in the fourth quarter. Does he press and make a mistake? Because we've seen that from him before. Right? He'll throw some picks. Or is this the evolution of his game where now he takes the check down, he makes the right play, and keeps his team in it? That's what I'll be looking for. I don't know if you could tell that from the scrimmage, but ultimately, I don't ever really doubt about his ability. Right? He knows how to play football, man. It's got a good arm. He throws a good deep ball, I think. If he just doesn't get in his own head, his quarterback is so mental. It is, man. I mean, if you're going to be a head case out there, it's hard to play the game effectively at this level because, man, these guys, you're going up against the best athletes in college football in the SEC, man. They'll get in your head. So mentally, that's my question. And I think that was Hugh Freeze's question about Robbie. Mentally, what's going to happen when the chips get down?
Right.
Are you going to get down? So we're kind of seeing a little bit of the same thing, just from like different angles.
Right.
One gets super emotional sometimes and maybe says some things, or does some things that you don't, really want them to do in the moment. And the other goes out and maybe tries too hard. What's that saying, Ike? When they say like you can't, when you're down, it's like there's no 10-point throw. There's no 21-point touchdown pass.
Right.
Right. You got to go out there and you have to. I
have no idea what saying you're talking about, but yes, I understand.
Yeah. I forgot what the saying goes. Try to help me out, but essentially, you can't come back on one.
You can't get it all back on one throw.
One play. Yeah. So you have to go out there and you got to make a good play, and then you got to string a bunch of good plays together until you. And that's when they say pressing. That's what I think of. How that will translate to a game.
Sure.
Don't press, man. Take the smart play. You guys remember the prayer of Jordan, right? Like when Nick Marsh.
What was that?
Yeah, I don't know. Some guy throw a pass, right? Like
it was in Jordan Hare.
Yeah. When he threw that ball, I was like, shit.
I think we all were.
Because there was a first down to be had underneath. I mean, that was probably the luckiest plays I've ever seen.
Actually, I wasn't mad at that. I was mad that we were trailing at that point.
Yeah, for sure. But I saw there was a first down. There was a guy wide open in the middle of the field. You know what I mean? Well beyond the first down marker, and the clock stops a first down. That's what I saw. Now we got lucky because the ball got tipped, but I'm telling you, if it had not bounced that way, what people would have been talking about was there were better throws to make. And I wonder, is he going to go for that 1 in a million throw, or is he going to take, the throw underneath that gets you just a little bit back, and then can he string enough of those together to give you a chance at the end of the game? Because I think that Auburn is going to be in a few of those situations this fall. Down 7-10 in the fourth quarter and just needing the quarterback to inch them back in it, make the right plays. And if I'm encouraged by anything, it was that he said they didn't turn the ball over. I think that's a great response. Like, even though he pressed, he didn't turn the ball over.
Who?
Thorne.
Last week or this week? He had INT this week.
Yeah, he did have an interception this week. Yeah.
Oh, he did? Damn. Okay, all right. Good point.
I mean, he's just saying overall they've been doing a good job.
But my point is, after all of that,
but we don't know that the INT was because he was pressing, though.
Yeah, he said he overthrew it. That's what he said.
Yeah, but I say I have
no. He said it sailed on him. He said it sailed on him.
Okay, yeah.
But he said it was a bad read. It was a bad read. So I'm assuming that's when it occurred. But my point is, the point I was making was after he did that, Freeze was very complimentary in terms of how he settled down and began to play.
And became to play, right? Yeah. So it's just, you just want to see it translate to game day. That's all. Like, I don't have any doubt about ability, right? I think, I believe Freeze when he says he's got 3 quarterbacks who can win. They all have different challenges, certainly.
Sure.
I think all 3 have different things that they're dealing with, that they, demons, so to speak, that they have to overcome to be their best selves on the football field, right? Which one has the type that gives you a chance to win this year, right? They think it's Spade Thorn, and I just can't wait to see it on the field. So it's the pressing thing is something that I'm just going to be watching through the first few weeks to see if that's something he works out of the system before, by game 1, or if it's something that continues into the first deal.
You may not see it then, but I'm curious to see what it looks like on the road against Cal.
Sure.
I want to see it like you may be more likely to see some adversity there, or on the road against A&M. Like I want to see when you're in a hostile environment.
When you talk to like Michigan State fans, like the way they're like, he's a good QB, but he's going to make some frustrating plays at times. And I think that's about average, man, in college football.
Yeah.
There's tons of good QBs who just make frustrating plays at times. So I don't know that I was very discouraged by that comment by Michigan State fans. Like, okay, like what QB is that not? Does it make some disappointing plays at times, like a handful of them that just go out there and almost never disappoint you? Right. So, it's a different beast in the SEC, man. I think, man, I don't know. I'm not going to say that just yet. But I'm going to be watching the system more than anything, right? Like I don't have a bunch of doubts about Thorne, I guess is what I'm saying, about his ability as a quarterback. Like I just wonder about the system they're going to implement. I'm concerned about play calling. I want to see what that's going to look like. There are a bunch of other question marks I have other than Thorne.
I want to see what he looks like in the run aspect of the RPO. Hugh Freeze also talked about the fact that he pulled some runs, wasn't sure because they blew the whistle early. Like, I'm curious to see how effective he is and how much of a threat that he is to pull it and run.
He did a little bit of that at Michigan State. I mean, he knows how to use his legs when it's necessary. So I don't think that that's going to be something that should come as much of a surprise. But
no, I'm just curious to see.
It's never going to be equivalent to what that other young man can do, but
absolutely.
But he doesn't need to be. He 100% does not need to be that in order to be effective.
Yeah, yeah. That's people kind of make that out to be more than it is. Oh well, if you can't run like Robbie Ashford, then you can't even run the RPO. Like, okay, that's not how football works. That's not how football works.
The R in the RPO is not about the quarterback run anyway.
Right.
Like that's just people not understanding what an RPO scheme is.
Right.
The R is the handoff to a running back,
and
then it turns into a pass tag on the back end of that. So it's not about whether it's not a read option like what Coach Malzahn ran primarily, where it is you're reading, whoever the crashing person is, or if it's the linebacker in the middle as to whether or not it's going to be a handoff. And then the other option is for you to run as a quarterback. It's an RPO, which is hand the ball off to a runner and then a pass tag on the back end of it. So it's different scheme. I know they look similar because they're both in shotgun and they have a handoff to a running back, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah. What I would say is, I'm with Ike, right? Like it's not all about. I don't want to see him get hurt. Yeah, sure. I just don't want to see him get hurt. So,
which he's done a fairly good job of that in the 2 years as a starter of not putting himself in positions to get hurt as a runner. Now he got absolutely destroyed sometimes behind some poor pass blocking. But as a runner, he's done a good job of not doing that.
Man. Hand that ball off, man. Let those guys do their thing. Do not get hurt.
I'm gonna grab some comments before we get to some of Hugh Freeze's other statements that he made during the press conference yesterday. Dana Lynch, welcome, becoming a new member.
Welcome.
CM Pat says, Coach Hugh Freeze has me, appreciate the super chat, by the way. Hugh Freeze has me very excited, just feels different. Also, hashtag get C-Dub off his job. I think we're working on that. James Morris says, do y'all know who the starting 5 O-line are? I know recently it's been Wade, Britton, Jones, Stutz, and Miller, last I heard. Hugh Freeze talked about Xavier Miller coming on really strong and how he has been kind of one of the winners or standouts during fall camp. Guys, what are your thoughts been about as it pertains to this question with the starting 5 offensive linemen?
I mean, I don't think anybody knows right now who the starting 5 is going to be. I think that Avery Jones is as close to cemented at starting center as you could be. Cam Stutz has been running a lot as one of the guards, and Dylan Wade has been primarily working out at one of the tackle positions. I think that other guard and that other tackle are where they're trying to figure out starter, who's going to be in the 2 deep rotation for that kind of thing. Because there's a lot of guys that have options over there. But yeah, he did mention Miller has been a guy that's come on since he got here this summer, changed his body a lot, is what he said. And his footwork has gotten better. So I'm looking forward to seeing who the 5 are that they tried out first. And then I'm going to be very interested to see who the 5 that they tried out second are that are competing for that 2 deep. I mean, I would assume we're going to get some sort of 2 deep release coming up next week. So I will be looking I'll be very interested to see what that's going to look like.
Agreed. Especially the guard position. Like there's been a lot of competition at those positions. So I'm curious to see who makes it 2 deep there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. It's time for a giveaway,
Hey.
ladies and gentlemen. We are giving away, as I stated 30 minutes ago, War Rapport T, courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Drop the hashtag Ike is ready to draw. So let's draw. How many we got?
116 entered. Somebody's got to win it. Did I not put it up there?
You did not.
Oh man, somebody's gonna win and they ain't gonna see it. I'm gonna do it again. Sorry for whoever just won. Because
I see it.
yeah, I see it. I just did put it on the screen.
Okay.
Now somebody's gonna swear that I cheated for somebody. Go ahead and throw it up there. See.
Okay. It's Robin Powell.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
Robin Powell.
They're gonna swear it was rigged because they didn't see the little thing going by. But
yeah, we don't know how to make a name just appear like that, y'all. We not doing screen prints. Robin, are you here? Let us know. Let us know if you're here. They're already calling us cheaters in the comments, but that's okay. Guys, be on the lookout for Robin. Hopefully she's around. She hung around to claim her prize. Listen, let's talk about Robbie Ashford. A question was asked not by Mike G. A question was asked by someone yesterday.
I asked no quarterback questions.
No. Let's make sure we point that out. He did not ask this question, but Hugh Freeze was asked about Robbie Ashford and what was the plans for him. And here is what Hugh Freeze had to say about that, as well as the overall competition of that room.
I think the game dictates a lot of that, and obviously when we start watching film on the opponent, what we think is our best chance to win. I've said it from the get-go, Robbie, if he handles things the right way, he has to get on that field some. He's different. And he's probably had his best 3 practices, the last 3 practices. And so I'm really proud of him, and he's going to push Peyton if he keeps continuing to play like this. Peyton's going to have to play really well. And so I love the competition. I think that's the only way you get better at this level. And they fool themselves if they think there's not competition elsewhere in other schools. This is the way it should be. At this level of a program, we ought to have 3 or 4 quarterbacks that can push each other. And I think every game will be different, but the one thing that I've said and I mean is that guy's different now, and he's got to get some touches. And he threw it well today. So
those were Hugh Freeze comments, and he talked about Robbie seeing the field if he handles things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys make of that, and what do you think that Hugh Freeze was referring to there?
I think
his attitude.
His attitude, yeah, it's pretty clear. You know how he feels he needs to handle himself. He's been saying this all offseason, right? That here's what I expect out of my quarterback. And in some ways, I think it's fair to say that he probably is saying that he wants to see more of those things out of Robbie Ashford. Because it's not all just about freakish athletic ability.
Right.
Now whether you think that's fair or not, I mean, that's for another discussion, but he's the coach and that's what he wants to see.
Yeah.
So if you want to get on the field, then you show the coach what he wants to see. And that would be true for any coach. So, he said he's different. Like that's how he described it. He's different. Yeah. He just is not like the others in a good way.
We literally were just saying the exact same thing about Peyton Thorne, though. It's just to your point that you made earlier, Mike G. He said it from the opposite side of the spectrum is that, listen, if Peyton Thorne wants to keep his spot, he's going to have to play well if Robbie keeps this up. So he's not just, it's like, Peyton Thorne, I took some pressure off of you. You need to handle that well.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't use those exact words, but that's what he's saying. It's like you need to be able to handle the position you're in order to keep that spot. Because if you don't, and he's saying it out in front of everybody, if you don't, this guy right here is pushing, and I'm going to let him play. If he keeps playing like this and you don't step up, I'm not going to keep you there at QB1. So he's being consistent in his messaging. It doesn't matter who he's saying it to.
Yeah, that's facts. Just from the different end, it's from a different end of the spectrum. Yeah, pretty much. Like, because those guys have different challenges, but he's telling everybody essentially the same thing, just as it pertains to them.
Right.
Thorne, you pressing, right? Like, if you don't calm down, Robbie Ashford's coming. Well, Robbie, if you want a shot, here's the things that you need to do. So I think he does value some right now in year one. He values some things more than others, right? So he definitely is going to value consistency over maybe, overall upside. I mean, there's some things you're looking for a safe floor if you're Hugh Freeze, right? And who provides you that and what characteristics provide you that. So, Robbie's test, if you listen, he said he's going to be hard to keep off the field. So he's just got to get his head in the game, man, and just stay there, stay positive, right? Like, dude, better quarterbacks have lost starting jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, to start a season. So you just never know when you're going to be called on, and you have to stay ready. And whether it was here or any place else, because here's what happens when you get your shot. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, if you all these guys still believe in themselves, they still think they can play at this level even if they lose the job. But if you don't want to end up at Texas State,
that's how we're going. Every time we talk about a quarterback underperforming, from now on until the end of this show, we sending them to Texas State.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I mean, if you don't want to end up at a non-P5 school, right?
That sounds so much better.
You need to perform to a certain level when you get your chance, because at some point, once you've been given so many chances, there's not a coach. There's too many up and coming guys, man, for some coach to believe a guy who's gotten 2 or 3 shots at it, the light's going to suddenly turn on for him. You're going to bet on that young. You're going to bet on your Walker Whites, and those kids that you have coming in. You're going to be highly invested in. He's got to play well. Like when you hit the field, you have to play well. I mean, I think it's just that clear. You don't have that much more. You don't have that much more time to figure this out, whether we're athletically or mentally or whatever it is. You got to get it together, man. This is the season. This is the season. Holden's still got time. Holden's still got time. You're Robbie. You started at Oregon. You played all year last year, right? Here, and now you're going into it again with a different coach. This is like his 3rd coach now, and you just have to show that you can get it done. He wants to play quarterback, man. Go out there and take the challenge. Life is tough, right? And, life is not going to coddle you and tell you it's going to be okay when it's not. You got to go out there and you just have to do what you need to do. That is the cold, hard truth of this. So, your coach is telling you you're different. So, similarly to what I said about Thorne, I don't really have any questions about his ability. I think it's all mental.
Yeah.
Right? The guys that make it to this level, they can play ball at this level. Whether they can translate that to the next level is a different story, because that's a very different prospect to me. Yeah. But at this level, all these guys can play ball at this level. It's just it is a mental game that they're in with themselves. Now, the guys who can put it together mentally, man, I'm telling you, sometimes beat out the guys who, have the better physical ability. You need to be able to be mentally tough, right? And you need to handle adversity well, and you need to be able to put things out of your mind, man, and move forward. And the coach has said two things. He's got all the ability, but here's what I need him to do. It's that simple. You can't take that personally, right? And you can't get down on yourself, man. You just have to take that in stride. It's constructive criticism. Can't take it, man. I don't know. I don't know how you succeed at this level without being able to take constructive criticism and use it for exactly what it is. Something that's supposed to move you forward.
Yeah.
When you're young, it can be difficult. Sometimes it can be difficult to hear the hard thing when you're young. And I remember a comment Hugh Freeze said in the spring where he said, I don't think anybody's ever challenged him the way that I have before I got here. And that's really important as well, too. So, maybe Peyton Thorne had people challenge him like that earlier on in his career. But if you haven't had anybody challenge you in this way, he's learning lessons. And Robbie Ashford himself said on our fireside that there were aspects of being a leader that he just weren't apparent to him. And he's been working on those things. So it's if you come up in that environment and you have the right influences, sure, it comes naturally to some guys. For others, they have to learn it, and they maybe are learning it a little later. But I think that's just where he has to catch up. Get out of your own head, man, and just get your head in the game. I think that's what the coach is saying.
Yeah, I saw a
little
mini summary on Peyton Thorne after he was announced as starter, saying that this was expected. I forgot who wrote it. It was a national pundit. It wasn't a local one, saying that he's the son of a legendary high school coach. I was like, no wonder. That's the professionalism, the tape watching, the details, the maturity, the leadership. From day one, like, you're getting that whether you like it or not. So, some kids don't like having a dad for a coach because it's a heavy burden. Because they're drilling all these life and football lessons into thousands of kids over the course of a career. And you were raised in the house with them. You getting them lessons. You are getting trained to be a leader from day one if you grow up under a coach or a military dad, which also happens as well. But you can see it just how their path to Auburn went, why Robbie Ashford would be less ahead of the curve when it comes to the leadership stuff and the film details and play calling stuff. Like, all of that stuff is stuff that when you have a high school coach as a dad, listen, man, this is who you're gonna be. So I can see why Thorne is ahead in that regard.
Yeah. Good conversation. We're going to discuss wide receivers, but before we do that, Robin must have had a very important call because she had to hop off. Picked a bad time to do that because we are redrawing. Ike actually pulls it up this time so that people know that it's real. Draw it.
Can't say we're cheating this time.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
They absolutely can't say we're cheating. Clint Murphy. Let us know if you're here, Clint. Let us know if you're here.
It's Clint.
Save us from a third redraw. Please, good sir. Hugh Freeze was asked about a wide receiver standout in the scrimmage, who's actually one of the transfers. And he made general statements about the wide receiver room, but This was about hooks. So let's hear what Hugh Freeze had to say about how he has done so far, as well as other receivers.
Well, he's a big target, and you know, I wish he played the game a little faster, and we've got to get him to do that. I think some of that comes from maybe not playing against the speed at this level yet. But if we can get him convinced to run every route and knowing, dude, you can get a break if, you know, but run this route like the game depends upon it. And I think that's the case, truthfully, with a lot of our transfer receivers. You take, you know, now, again, some people have been hurt, and I really hadn't seen them. Camden Brown practiced the last 2 days and had a touchdown catch today, which was nice to see. But Malcolm is not practicing right now, and Coy has not practiced. He got hurt in summer workouts, still hasn't practiced, but he's getting closer. But it seems like the transfers, the new guys, I've got to get them to play faster all the time. The guy made some really nice catches and runs after the catch, and then one of the touchdowns he caught was kind of like if it were a game, it would be on Sports Center tonight. You know, one of those type one-handed type back of the end zone grabs. So he had a really solid day.
Those were Hugh Freeze's thoughts, and he talked about, even though he was pleased with how he performed in scrimmage, one of the things that he's talked about is wanting them to play faster. He even alluded to in the first scrimmage that wide receivers were kind of loafing. Obviously, there's a concern about them playing at the type of speed that he wants to see his receivers play. And I'm assuming this is in the area of reading the defense and executing in terms of the offense and what is expected of the receivers. Guys, what do you take of Hugh Freeze's comments about the play of the wide receiver room, as well as how Hooks did on yesterday? I will start with you, B. Will.
I'm glad Camden Brown's back. I'm extremely glad Camden Brown's back. When we looked at that list of who was practicing and who was hurt for fall camp, it's like, man, we got to get healthy. Hugh Freeze had said earlier in the preseason that the transfer guys weren't playing up to speed. Well, what he said yesterday in that presser that we just saw, he pretty much alluded to that earlier as well. It wasn't just that they were, I think Shorter was hurt, but it was apparently they hadn't practiced and played in an environment that demanded 100% from them consistently. And they have the talent. We know they have the talent. We've seen some of the plays that they make, but that's something that you have a luxury of doing when everybody around you is just a little bit below you one level. And now they don't have that luxury anymore. Those transfer players can't loaf anymore. And this is a challenge. Hugh Freeze said he was going to get under everybody's skin for the camp. He's not just talking about the quarterbacks. He's talking about everybody. There's a standard he wants them to play to, and he's going to challenge everybody to get them to playing and practicing to that standard. I don't think it's a terrible thing that some of these guys have to be whipped into shape. The state of the room in the first week of camp or the second week of camp isn't what we're going to see in October and November, because they have to get, if they had already been on an SEC roster before, if they had been on this roster last year and he's talking about this, then I'd be like, all right, okay, now I'm worried. But everybody's got to get whipped into shape. New coaching staff, new place for a lot of these guys. A lot of our starters are not going to have been here last year. I'm glad he can get them there, though. That's the number one thing. Okay, we have some effort issues. We have some consistency issues. But is it getting better? Let Hugh Freeze tell it. Yes, it's getting better. So, cool. Camden Brown being out there for 2 days and then 2 days of practice after being injured for all of camp up to this point. And then with a touchdown, yes, that's the person I think is poised to break out the most. Hooks apparently has some must-see, cannot miss ability and highlight making potential. Sure, I think Camden Brown is going to be a starter. And again, we say this a lot, but the guys who chose Auburn first out the gate, I'm biased towards them. When they sign here out of high school and they say, I want to go there, I want to see him get a shot. I want to see him shine. And I'm glad to hear that Camden is practicing and playing well since he got back from injury.
Um, the comments about guys not going full speed are not unexpected, right? So it's
Loading.
I think it's a combination of things. All right. I think it is some guys just don't know the system well. So they're still trying to figure out, like, so they're not going full speed because they're thinking too much. I think some of it is what Coach Freeze talked about as far as like the competition level. They're not used to having to compete in practice as well. So they're not thinking, okay, I'm going to go 100% this entire time. And I think some of it is just guys who that's just the way that they always have been. And so they haven't been challenged to be better than that. And, you know, I have done a lot of, as you guys know, some film review on guys. And I pointed it out when I was talking about the film on one of these guys. So, like, he just doesn't look like every time when he's coming off the line, he's firing off, right? Like he just, you know, take and you know, Coach Freeze talked about that with Hook saying, like, you'll get a break. Like, it's not, you're not going to go out there and have to play every single down for it. So play every down as if it's the last down that you're going to play in this game. Right. And if you're tired, we can get you out of the game, get somebody else in there, but I need 100% effort every single time. And that's just a part of understanding what it takes to be elite. Is every single route needs to look good. Every time I go out there, I'm firing off, because the totality of this play requires everybody to be a threat at all times. So yeah, you might not be the number one option on this one, but if we have to go to the number two option, and that's you, and you're not where you're supposed to be, you left your quarterback hanging.
You know, there was a clip. It was in the pros, which makes it more egregious. They were noting how a specific wide receiver on a certain team, and I wish I could remember the team and the player, his hands in his starting position, you knew when he was not going to get the ball. He didn't have his hands ready, like center of body right here. And he didn't give nearly the same amount of effort on the route that he gave when he knew the ball was going to come to him potentially. And somebody was like, this is easy for NFL defense. Like, they're going to look at your body language, give a hand signal, and know when they're back there in that zone, they're not even going to have to shift it your way. You are cueing a very good defense. And don't get me, we have very good defenses in this league. There are some professional development defenses that we see every year here, at least 2 or 3 of them. Georgia, Bama, LSU, at the very least. And you're going to give them an advantage to know, oh, look, Hooks is outstanding, but look, he's not getting the ball. If y'all see this, give a signal. We know how we're going to shift from that. Don't do that. Don't give them any advantage. Like, effort is necessary. They need to believe. You need to be a threat if you're out there. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this man's a pro. So, yeah, I see why maximum effort is not something you can compromise on if you're going to be a starter and get on the field.
Mike G, your thoughts, man?
Well, one thing I've heard consistently all through camp is that Hooks is that dude. He's 100% him. He's going to go out and make plays. I think they posted a highlight of him making a one-handed catch from Thorne, kind of in the back of the end zone. I don't know if you guys saw that. Auburn football put it out there. But
Hugh Freeze talked about it. He said that would have made Sports Center.
Yeah, when we saw him, there were highlights of him doing the same thing at his previous school, right?
Yeah, Jackson State.
Yeah, Jackson State, right? So he might be a pleasant surprise for this wide receiver room. I think when you combine that with Jay Fair and Camden Brown, and these tight end, Auburn may be a little bit more dangerous in the passing game than a lot of people are anticipating. So the injuries are concerning. I wonder what's going on there. Poor Malcolm, man, I feel so bad for Malcolm Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid just works and works and works, man, and just, he's trying to get healthy. He's doing his best to try to get healthy. They talk about him consistently. Even though he's been hurt, he gets talked about consistently. And the other guys, the other receivers still feel like he's the fastest dude on the team. But with Coy and Marner, I mean, you got some experience in there, man. We'll see. If you can deliver, Hooks has been described as one of those guys that you can just kind of throw the ball near him and he's going to go get it.
Right.
And Auburn has not had one of those in quite some time. Just go get it. So
Our argument, Seth Williams was kind of like that.
Yeah,
An argument can be made for Seth.
he maybe loafed. Yeah, you're right. He was the type of receiver that could do that.
If we're being honest, again, I know when I say stuff about
Come on, man, because I was thinking it. Come on.
He is Seth Williams. Like they're
He
the
is.
same kind of player where like phenomenal athlete, but they're not gonna go 100% the entire time. Like,
Oh, that's not what I
he's
thought
gotta-
you were gonna say. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Well, okay, I don't know what you thought I was gonna say, but they have to. They've got to be convinced that the effort needs to be there the entire time. I don't know where you thought I was going to be, Will, but that's a very good comp in my opinion.
No, it is. It is. I hold mine for that one.
Okay.
See about
Yeah. Like I said, he's different. There are some guys that are going to surprise, and we haven't seen it here, so there's a lot of question about ability. But ultimately, I think Auburn has some dudes, man, and if they can deliver the ball to them consistently enough, we'll see them make plays. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what his wide receiver room can do. And I'm concerned about the injuries because of depth. You need depth. But God, it maybe just mirrors my excitement for the offense in general. Better O-line, deep running back room, better quarterback play. How could the wide receivers not play better? I just don't know, man. Everything was on the floor last year.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
It's like, any production would be good production. I think they've upgraded significantly at that position all the way around the board. They went out and they got some pieces in the portal. The playing fast thing is interesting to me because those guys told us in the first fireside that the simplification of the system is allowing them to play faster. Like last year, they were definitely thinking too much. And now Freeze is saying that some of the transfers are coming in. They're having a little bit of trouble, I guess, playing at speed. But if we're to believe what the other receivers are saying, they should catch up pretty quickly. Now that they're actually getting the reps in the system and, with the coaches out there, because the other guys got to go through a spring and these guys didn't. Yeah. So, I expect them to catch up pretty quickly and play quickly. They were so excited about the opportunities that they're going to get to catch the ball in this new system. It's just, it's going to be, they're just going to go out and play. I'm just looking forward to seeing them go out there and play football, man. We talk about all these things, but ultimately when you have playmakers, you go out there, you throw them the football and you just let them play. What Iron Bowl was that? I forgot, maybe it was the 2010 Iron Bowl. I remember an Iron Bowl where Bama was driving. Yeah, it was the comeback. And I forgot the announcer, the one that everybody hates.
Gary Daniels.
Yeah,
okay. All right. Yeah. Right. I'm pretty sure he was convinced. They were like, you got to throw it to Julio Jones right here. He's going to go make that play. It was such an expectation that they were just going to force the ball to Julio. You throw it to him twice, I think he said, in that moment. You try it, and if it don't work, you try it again because he's Julio Jones. Shane Hooks kind of gives me those vibes for what I've been hearing. Now, am I saying that he's Julio Jones? No. But he might be the guy.
The internet says that's what you said.
Yeah, right. But he might be the guy that you look for in the end zone when you need a play. That fade to the back pylon, he's that dude. He looks like that dude who can go up and make that play consistently for you. Just don't throw it out of bounds and give him a chance to catch the ball, and he's gonna go get it. That's the feel he gives me. So, and I think that's really exciting. Could Camden possibly go out there and do the same thing? What Camden come in at, Ike, when we look at the graphic, 6'3"?
Yeah, I think he's 6'3".
Hooks was
6'4",
6'4". Yeah, we're on the taller side for some of the receivers Auburn has gotten, in recent memory. So yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. I'm encouraged about the wide receiver room. I think they'll get healthy, and we'll see some guys. Somebody's going to show out that nobody expects.
I'm excited to see guys also like Coy Moore. You talked about Camden Brown, how he's been injured. Hugh Freeze talked about Coy Moore being injured. So I'm excited to see who we get back over this 2-week period as we get healed up for the start of the season. And this offense
Brown,
overall.
6'3", Shane Hook 6'4", Jair Shorter 6'2", and then you got Nick
Martiner 6'6".
Yeah,
Cool.
Some height.
Yeah, but that's the type of receiver that Hugh Freeze is looking for. So
what was Omari Kelly? He was 6'2".
No, Omari Kelly is a lot shorter than people think.
6'1".
Let's see. Omari is number 19. He is 6 even.
Oh, he's 6 foot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm gonna grab a couple of comments and we'll get out of here. TK says Coach Hugh Freeze is managing 1 and 2 like a sly fox. Get the best out of both of them, and that should make us all happy.
Right.
Definitely will make me happy. I have to agree with that, TK. Good comment there. Clint, it's a little iffy, but you're here. Congratulations, good sir. What we need you to do, if you haven't done so already, is we need you to email us, business@thewar.report. Business@thewar.report. We need your shirt size, physical address, and that shirt will be heading your way. Good show, gentlemen. Great conversation. Ike, tell the people who are considering becoming a member of the War Report why they should and the perks that comes along with it.
Yeah, it's really simple. You should do it because humanity dictates that people not be unawesome. And so we need as many awesome people as there are possible. And, hey, this is one of the ways to do it is become a member of the War Report. But for real, if you want to get in on the drawing, we are doing drawings for every home game. You have to be a patron in order to get in on that, but you can become a member of the War Report. You get a lot of great perks with that. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership to someone, just like Drake Barefoot has done, you can do that right now from the live chat, and you'll get a free month of membership on them. The War Report Podcast Network is here. That's the College Loop, the Auburn Express, Up Tempo, and coming up soon, Just a Sec podcast, all about the SEC. The sponsor of today's War Report is the Golden's Cast Iron, goldencastIron.com. You can head over there, whether you work out, grill out, or chill out. Golden's has you covered. Code get your weight up. I'm so used to saying code report for all this stuff, but code get your weight up to get 15% off of the weights. Code TWR for $65 off of fire pits and Kamado grills. If you didn't win something, you can head to our website. That's thewarreport.com, and you can get your little merch over there as well. And again, shout out to Manscaped. Head to manscaped.com using code report. And we appreciate you. If you support the people who support us, that helps them to feel as if it's worth it, giving us a few little dollars every month. Goes a long way, and we appreciate you all so much for all the support of all things War Report related.
Mm-hmm. And guys, one of the ways you can continue to do that is we had a good conversation today. So share this conversation with friends, family, co-workers, other people who are interested in Auburn content. Please be sure to do that. Smash that like button. It definitely helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And subscribe if you have not done so already. I mentioned social media. You can find us at The War Report on Twitter and Instagram. We are TW Report for TikTok. We will, guys, see you tomorrow morning for the morning drop. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.